Hey guys, it's Leigh with Still Raven Farms. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about a stricter diet that I am getting ready to go through in December in this month. I'm doing this from December till about March, April, maybe May. It's going to kind of depend on what the garden's doing at that point. But I kind of wanted to go through the hows and whys of what happened and why this is going on. And I kind of want to take you guys along with me. So this blog post will be posted around about the 16th, I believe. But until then, I kind of wanted to talk about, why it's happening. So first, back in October of this year, I got pretty sick. I was at work and I think we got a call around midnight, 1 o'clock. It was right in there, and I was really nauseous. The whole call just didn't feel real good. And we got back from the call, and I remember just went to go lay down, and I was so nauseous. So I took some Zofran, went and laid down, thought everything was going to be all right, and I proceeded to spend the next 5 hours puking, and I couldn't stop. Zofran didn't do anything. Phenergan didn't do anything. Like I'm miserable. And I'm no quitter. So, about 6 o'clock, we caught another call and we ended up getting canceled on that. And we went back to the station and I called my supervisor and I was like, look, man, I can't run another call. I am super sick. I can't stop puking. I've been up since 1 puking. I got to go home. And he's like, yeah, go home. And I was like, all right, so go home thinking I've got the stomach bug, it's going to come out the other end any minute now. So I'm just going to go home. And I managed to keep a little bit down. I was, drinking broth, trying to, get calories in, because I knew it was going to come back up. So if I can get something in now, let's maybe see. And, that didn't work. So I went up to Jared, who was at work, and, hung out with him for a little bit, and none of that helped. And so I went back home and I told the kids, listen, you're on your own tonight. I feel like shit. There's nothing I can't. And they were like, yeah, sure. So my kids are 12 and almost 15 respectively. And, they are pretty self-sufficient. But I sat with them, I drank my broth during dinner, and then I went and crashed in bed, and I was up all night puking. Couldn't go to the bathroom, couldn't poop. And Jared was on a 48. And I texted him at about, 6, 7 o'clock or so. I don't remember. Something along the lines of, I am super weak. I can't even get out of bed. I need you to come home, because I'm not going to leave my kids home for another whole day with me being sick. Like I need you to come home. And so he came home, and I don't know what he saw because I was laying in bed. But I couldn't get out of bed. And he knelt down next to the bed and he was like, are you going to get up and go to the hospital, or do I need to carry you to the truck? And I was like, I'll get up. And as a paramedic and, nurses, doctors, whatever, like we know, and we're not going to the hospital unless we're dying. And I could not. I was puking through Phenergan, puking through Zofran, Benadryl, you name it, just to try to ease it enough so that I could get some sleep to get it to stop. Nothing was working. And so, he took me to the hospital, called my other boss, and Jared called him and said, hey man, take her off the schedule. She's not coming in. She's sick. So I'm in the hospital. They've given me Zofran. They've given me Phenergan. I'm still puking. Can't keep it under control. Dry heaving. And, so they gave me Riglin, which is an antipsychotic medication. And I was puking through that. And the doc was like, all right, that's enough. We're not playing around anymore. And he prescribed me droperidol, which is also an antipsychotic medication. And I proceeded to puke through that as well. I got an abdominal CT that came back with gastritis, and they pretty much kept me doped up. And they said, we're going to admit you overnight. We're going to try to get this under control because all the medications that we've given you, you're puking through all of them. We have to get this under control before you go home. And I'm like, well, fuck. So I spend the night. Jared goes home with the kids. I'm spending the night and I'm up every hour or so puking. The nurses are getting concerned because they were like, if we can't get this under control, you're going to have to stay another night. And I'm like, absolutely fucking not. I got shit to do. And they were like, well, you're going to have to stay another night if we can't get this under control. So they ended up giving me IV Benadryl, and oh my God, that was amazing. And I finally started feeling a little bit better. And about noon the next day, they let me go home. So in a 24-hour period, no food, no water, they've got me on, and my blood pressure is low anyways. It always hangs out around 80, 80 over nothing. And they were like, yeah, we're going to give you some fluid to go with it. And I was like, okay. And I looked at my pressure. It was like 70 over nothing. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a little low. That's a little, I need something for that. So anyways, I got home, and while in the comfort of my own home, I was getting a little bit better. I was on several medications. And so with gastritis, the usual culprits are going to be things like an infection, or it's going to be, alcohol, or all sorts of different things. And so autoimmune disorders, sudden medication changes, stuff like that is usually what causes gastritis. And the treatment is usually the same thing for everybody. It's antibiotics, acid reducers, anti-nausea, antiemetics. Let's get the puking to stop. Let's get the stomach acid to go down and try to heal whatever it is. And I was like, okay, I just need the puking to stop, right? Like I just need this to stop. My brain cannot function because I have not eaten. I have not slept. I'm exhausted. I feel like shit. And so when I got out of the hospital and got home and got better, of course, I'm taking the meds that the doctors prescribed because I need relief, right? And at this point, I don't really care why I got gastritis. I don't care what the medications do. I don't care anything about that. I just want the shit to work, and I want the puking to stop, right? And so one of the things that I see constantly as a paramedic is this idea that we don't treat what causes the sickness or the symptoms. We jump to all these medications or these pills or this or this or this. It's going to fix the symptom because we're not going to fix the problem, right? So an example of that would be, we're not going to fix our diet because we'll just take this pill to fix our type 2 diabetes because we don't want to, fix our diet and go for a walk. Or, that's the best one I got. But that was the first one that popped in my head. Why fix our diet or what's causing inflammation? Or it's like sitting there going, I'm going to climb this ladder on a broken leg because the last time I climbed the ladder, I broke my leg, but the doctor fixed it, without taking any additional measures to say, okay, I'm going to make sure that, I don't fall off the ladder. I'm going to make sure that, the ladder is stable. I'm going to do these things to make sure that I don't get hurt again. It's taking the logical approach and saying, nah, the doc fixed it, so I'm just going to do whatever because the doctor's going to fix it again, right? And so the issue that I have with American medicine and American food is that our food is being formulated to make us sick. And I'm probably going to lose a lot of people over this, and that's okay. Our food is formulated to make us sick. and our medicines are formulated to keep us coming back. It's the reality. Like you can think that big pharma has it out, has your best interest at heart, and you can think that big ag has your best interest at heart, but they don't. They don't. They're in it for customers, both of them, and for different reasons, right? Big ag is, we're going to feed the world, so we got to crank out as much as possible out of this soil. And who cares if we damage the soil? Who cares if we damage the ecosystem? We need more food, so let's put more fertilizer on there. And what happens, there's a bug. We got to spray pesticides all over everything. We don't care if we kill bees. We don't care if we kill butterflies. We don't care if we kill the frogs. We don't care if we kill anything as long as our crop is protected. And what this has done over the last century is it has created antibiotic resistant bugs, right? It's created insecticide resistant insects. It has created funguses and other, it's created issues that it was trying to stop, and it has created bigger issues. And then we consume that food. We consume food that's been sprayed with pesticides to kill bugs. Now, obviously, we are much bigger than bugs, and our organ systems and everything is much more advanced than bugs. But if you are eating something that was supposed to kill another creature, you are at your core another creature. What do you think it's doing to you? And so we said, it's not that big of a deal. And we keep eating the food that's making us sick, and we keep taking the meds that keep us sick so that we can what? So we can do what? Right? Now, you may be in a position where you can't farm, you can't grow a garden, you can't source food, beef, beef, chicken. I'm looking at a duck right now, so duck. You can't source that stuff reasonably, right? You have to go to the grocery store. And unless you want to fork out $2, $3, $4 more per pound for grass-fed beef, and it gets expensive. I get it. I understand it. I lived it until moving here, right? Sorry, that was the cat jumping off of the thing. So what do we do about it, right? How do we fix this? Well, first, we stop consuming the things that make us sick. We start taking control of the things that we can control. And that's what I decided to do. And so a stricter diet was born. Now, I just want to address the elephant in the room. The standard American diet, the acronym for it is SAD, SAD. And what's happening is that we have this idea, right, that we've got to feed the world. And so we pump chemicals over food. And then we eat that food, and then we turn around and wonder why we got sick in the first place. Right? And I could go down this rabbit hole, and I'm not going to, because it's something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something that I get not judgy, but I get very frustrated because it's not necessary to follow the standard American diet, y'all. Like we can do so much better. But until we start voting with our dollars, we're never going to get any better. But that is a different discussion for a different podcast. Today, we're talking about a stricter diet. So, we eat about 75% healthy, right? And that's pretty good. And so the question then becomes, why do you need a stricter diet if you already eat 75% decently? Well, my big thing is that I've had a lot of symptoms that I've been pushing to the side for about 5 or 6 years now. Symptoms like, my sleep Guys, I don't sleep. I may be in bed for 8 hours, but I don't sleep for 8 hours. I'm lucky if I clear 4 hours of decent sleep. And I usually only hit about 20 minutes of REM per night. Now, sometimes obviously I get a little bit more, sometimes I get a little bit less, but 20 is about average. 20 minutes of REM is about average. I think you're supposed to get something like 3 hours per night of REM sleep. I don't get anywhere near that. I'll be 35 this month. And there are times where I can't get out of bed without being in agony. I thought it was the cold, you hit your 30s and it's cold outside and, everything hurts once you turn 30 and, your knees always kind of giving you problems when it's cold. But I've noticed it doesn't matter if it's hot or cold. It doesn't matter what I eat. I've got pain in my back, my lower back. I've got pain in my knees. My right knee is the worst. My right hip is the worst. And I've got neck pain that is ridiculous. I've got issues with psoriatic arthritis and psoriasis. And when my PA flares, I can't walk. I mean, I gut it out and I go to work, but I have a limp. I can't start IVs very well when my hands flare up because it feels like my bones are grinding together. It is awful. I've noticed over the last 5 years that, I used to have really thick, long, wavy, curly hair. And now, I have to straighten my hair to prevent tangles and frizz, which causes more breakage. And I went from having to two hair ties to hold up my hair to now I can do it with one. That's how much less hair I have because of the breakage and shedding and all that. I've had mood swings that are absolutely ridiculous. Like, I will be perfectly happy in my garden. I'll be planting. I'll be playing with the dogs. I'll be playing with the kids, whatever. Everything's great. And then all of a sudden this rage takes over. And it's like, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, it is insane. And it's not cool. It's not cool for my family. It's not cool for me. Like, it's awful. And so all of this plus the gastritis, it was, all of it's kind of an eye-opener over the last month, really, where it was just like, something's got to give, right? Something's got to give. And like most people who are, sick and tired of being sick and tired, they're like, you know what? I'm going to fix this. So most people are, when they decide, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to fix something. Something's got to give. I'm going to fix my diet. And so I'm not a real big fan of diets in the first place, right? I think if you're going to eat healthier, you should eat healthier. I do not, as a rule, believe that starting some kind of a diet is going to fix whatever it is, right? But the flip side to that is I do believe that it can sometimes. So what I am looking to do, because at the end of the day, I am doing a diet. I am doing an elimination diet, and I'm not doing it to lose weight. I'm not doing it to look better in a bikini, because there's only so much that can be done about that at this point in my life. I am doing it solely to feel better. That's all I want. And before I go into which diet I'm going to go on, there's a couple of things that I really struggle with diets, right? And one of the big ones is I struggle with trying to figure out what I can actually eat within that diet and how to make that work with what I need or what I want. It's what I want, not what I need. And because like I already shop the perimeter of the grocery store, I already grow a lot of my own food. I already source healthy meat or raise that meat. So I've already got most of the good stuff down. But when you're looking at, say, the Whole30 diet, you're like, okay, well, you know, it says that I can't have eggs. What does that mean, that I can't have these eggs? What about this? Can I have that? And it starts this cycle that really you're not doing an elimination diet if you can't give up ranch dressing for, 30 days. You're not fixing anything. You're just shifting the problem, right? And, one of the other things that I'm struggling with is I do have an autoimmune disorder, which is the psoriasis. And despite prompting from me to my doctor, I'm pretty sure I've got a thyroid issue just based off of the different symptoms that I've been having for years. Everything's perfect. All my blood work, all my panels, everything's great. Everything's perfect. You can't possibly have XYZ because all of your levels are absolutely fine. Well, something's wrong, right? And if I can't get a diagnosis from a doctor, which the reality is, okay, you got a diagnosis from the doctor. Are you going to take the meds or are you going to try to fix the problem? Right. And so I'm trying to fix the problem. So does the diagnosis really matter? Well, sometimes. But when I'm doing, and if I don't eat certain things, or if I do eat certain things, my gut flares, my skin flares, this happens, that happens. And so a lot of these elimination diets, you can't, like, the keto. Okay. Well, what if brassicas cause my skin to flare? That's really the only vegetable that you can eat on keto. I mean, obviously there's a couple more, but really there's not many. And so then I come to the third problem, which is how the hell am I going to eat at work? I work 24 to 48 hour shifts regularly. Like I work 24-hour shifts every third day. And every once in a while I'll pick up a 48-hour shift, which means I have to bring all of my food with me. And that's not normally a problem because I bring my lunch and I bring my dinner. But what about snacks? What am I supposed to bring for snacks? And then, good Lord, what happens if we're running? And there are times where, I clock in at 9 a.m. and I don't get back to the station until 9 p.m. And there's been times where I don't get back to the station until 1 o'clock in the morning. It happens a lot. Like, not every day, but it does happen. And so when you have shifts like that, how the hell do you eat? Well, you do what we do. What we do is we stop at the gas station. Gotta stop and get fuel, might as well get food. And we all know that gas station food is not the highest level of nutrition, right? So you're kind of sitting there stuck going, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? You do the best that you can, right? So again, before we get too far into, what diet I chose, I want to kind of talk to you and give you two thoughts. I need you to understand that any diet can be a success or a failure depending on your body and your commitment level. Okay? You are going to hear of people who ended up in the hospital because they were on keto for however many weeks and had a massive heart attack. Or you're going to hear people that, oh, I heard this lady died because she went vegan for 6 months and she dropped dead. A true elimination diet is not meant to be a lifestyle change. Now, there are some people that will go vegan, because they can't tolerate meat, and they do fantastic on it. And then you have others who go carnivore, and they stay on it because it's the only thing their body can freaking digest. That's okay, but it's not meant to be their entire life afterwards. The second thing is that if you're going from a standard American diet to humanely raised, grass-fed, organically grown food, yeah, you're probably going to feel better. If you put the amount of thought into your diet that should be there in the first place, right? You say, okay, no, I'm not going to eat McDonald's. I'm not going to eat Zaxby's. I'm not going to eat Chick-fil-A. I'm not going to eat fast food. All right, cool. That means I got to bring my lunch. Well, what am I going to eat? Well, I'm going to get this, and this. You're automatically going to lose a little bit of weight and be a lot healthier simply because you cut the crap out of your diet, right? And then you take that one, and this is what we've done. You take that one step further and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to eat, I'm trying to think one of the things that we gave up. I don't drink soda. I do not drink soda. And while it was rough at first going through the caffeine withdrawals, and then, I love bubbly. I just love bubbles, And so that was really hard to get used to only drinking water with meals, right? And y'all, I felt so much better it was probably about 6 to 8 weeks afterwards. I felt great. My skin cleared up. I was having a lot, I was healthier. I could run further, all those things. It was great, right? But when you realize that's the success stories of the person that, went keto, and they lost a bunch of weight and they got off all their meds and they did all the things and now they're running triathlons. Yeah, because they feel better because they stopped eating the bullshit. Right? And it's not just that simple, but when you feel better, you want to be more active. The more active you are, the better food you're going to eat, because you start realizing there's a freaking correlation. And then you turn around, and as time goes on, you get healthier and healthier and healthier. And then you feel better and you want to continue doing it because you want everybody to know, because it really, honestly, it feels like you have this magic bullet. Right? It feels like you've got this magic pill or potion or thing because you feel so great, right? So why wouldn't you want to shout it from the rooftop? So again, when you take the standard American diet out of it and you say, no, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to eat cleaner. I'm not going to, get a box of mac and cheese. I'm going to make my own noodles. I'm going to make my own cheese sauce, and it's going to be delicious, right? When you take those steps, yeah, it's a little bit more work, but look at your outcome. Less meds, less exhaustion, you're sleeping better, you're pooping better, everything's great because you took the steps to be healthier, right? So, now that we got all that out of the way, I am going to be doing the carnivore diet, and I'm going to be doing it from December through about March or April. And, I've heard the gamut of reasons as to why the carnivore diet is bad and the you shouldn't do it and all of these things. And I've heard it. I've done the research. I'm not one to sit there and go, I'm going to pick that one. And, I look into stuff pretty in depth. Especially if I'm spending a lot of money, especially with my food, I'm going to make sure that I can handle whatever it is that's coming my way. And I looked into doing paleo and keto and carnivore and Whole30 and vegan and all of these different things. And I realized at the end of it, simplicity is best. And so I knew that I was going to be looking at either doing vegan or carnivore. Those are going to be my options because I need simplicity, especially if we're only doing an elimination diet where we're trying to figure out what's making me sick. I can do I was telling Jared about it, and I was like, I'm kind of feeling the carnivore diet because I like meat. That's it. I couldn't do vegan because I enjoy eating meat. And so when you look at logically, you look at what makes the vegan and carnivore so easy. It is this phrase: did an animal eat it? Or excuse me, did an animal make it? If an animal made it, if you're carnivore, you can eat it. If you're vegan, you cannot. And it's that simple, right? And so I need simplicity, and that's where I'm at with it. Not only that, I'm going into winter. I'm, only a couple of weeks away from true winter, and I'm looking at my garden going, if I went vegan, I would have to purchase all of my fruits and vegetables right now. Beans, everything. I would have to purchase it. Versus, I'm looking at my basement, and I have 2 pigs in my basement right now. They're in the freezer. They're thawing because we accidentally frozen. Whoops. So I have 2 pigs in my basement right now. Then I have about, I'd say probably about half a cow in another freezer. I've got a couple chickens still in the freezer. And I have, really, I would say probably about 75 pounds of ground sausage. I'm good. I got plenty of meat. And if I need to eat 2 to 3 pounds of meat per day, I got plenty down there for me and then my family. So I'm not planning on doing carnivore forever. I am honestly planning on only doing it for, like I said, now through March, April, maybe May. It's really going to depend on how it's going. It's also going to depend on the garden, right? And I still struggle with the carnivore diet. It sounds great. It sounds great in theory. It sounds easier-ish. Like it's going to be hard, right? Because no diet change is easy. It's going to be hard. But I think the biggest issue that I have with these staunch proponents of the carnivore diet is them saying, I can eat as much bacon as I want because bacon is good for me, but a squash is bad? Like that doesn't make any sense. And I think the reason I struggle with that, and I think why a lot of people struggle with that, is because of this old mindset of the very first food pyramid. Do you remember that in high school, in middle, elementary, in school? Let's just go school. I believe the first one came out in the 70s, and then it was updated in the 90s, and now it's been updated again, I think 2 or 3 more times since then. And I'm just sitting there looking at this food pyramid that I remember growing up, and I'm looking at the bottom of the food pyramid, and it is breads and pastas and grains and all these things, and I'm like, yo, did you know that shit will kill you? Did you know that is why this entire country is obese? Like that right there. I pinpointed it. I found, part 1 of the problem is this idea that you should have pasta or rice or mashed potatoes or something like that with every single meal. Every meal. And that is freaking insane. Carb heavy food stores as fat. That's what it does. And so if your body cannot use that carb, it's going to store as fat. And then we've got protein somewhere in the middle. The different pyramids put it at different spots, and then fat and sweets, fat, oils, and sweets should be the smallest that you can, very sparingly, like not even a whole serving. And I'm sitting there looking at it going, now, in school, it was like, oh, that makes sense. And that's how I grew up eating, and that's how I fed my family for many years, until probably the last 2 years where it was just like, wait a second. Hold on one second. You mean to tell me that my plate that I have been eating and consuming for years I just spent the last 30 minutes not realizing that I had the wrong microphone plugged into the wrong spot. Oopsie. So that one's going to sound not great, and I'm going to try to fix it later. But right now, I remember, again, up until a couple of years ago, that I would sit, I'd look down at my plate, and there would be this huge hunk of meat, some sort of a starchy, carby side, and a thing of vegetables. And in my household, it was usually corn, green beans, or peas. I bought that shit by the case because those were one of the vegetables that I liked. And those are the only ones that the kids would eat. And then occasionally I would branch out and I'd get a couple zucchini from the grocery store, and that was wild. And to be honest with you, I didn't even really like the green beans because the green beans tasted funny and they squeaked on my teeth. So I had to get the French cut green beans because that was better, and it was just awful. And I looked down at that plate in my brain. I looked down at that plate and I'm just like, you mean to tell me that is what everybody eats? Like, clearly, there's people that eat differently, obviously, but the standard American plate at night looks like a chicken breast that's been seasoned and then some sort of a starchy carby side. And that takes up half the damn plate. And then a couple of vegetables. That's it. That's what it looks like. And I'm kind of sitting there going, this doesn't feel right. Something's off with it. And so I don't agree with every single principle, and it could change. I could, hit March, April and go, this is fucking amazing and I'm going to stay on it. But the carnivore diet says absolutely not. Plants are trying to kill us. Our body structures, our digestive system, our teeth, everything is made to consume meat. It is not made to consume plants. And I've heard that. And then there's a big argument of, well, plants are trying to kill us. Okay, I can actually kind of see that point. All right. If you have gardened for any length of time, or you've looked into gardening, or you've, had plants or whatever, that makes sense. Because some gardeners will purposefully stress a plant in order not to kill it, but just enough to get the plant to start releasing chemicals so that the roots grow deeper, or that the stalks are stronger, or that produces more fruit quicker, or whatever. And those chemicals are a defense mechanism in your plant, right? So when a cow comes by and munches on, a legume, a bean of some sort, that plant now has to harden off the injury, and then it starts producing chemicals and all that other stuff to deter more damage. That's what it does. If you look at, so a prime example for us is the Japanese beetle population. We will, every single May, we get hit with Japanese beetles, and they eat everything. It doesn't matter if I plant trap crops or not, they're eating everything. But they slowly go away. Why? Well, part of it's because they migrate out. The other part is because I've got traps. And the third part is because I can't keep eating the plants, because I have dead Japanese, and I spray nothing on my garden. It is survival of the fittest in my garden. I'm going to put you in the ground and I'm going to water you, and that's all you're getting. And there's a reason for that. But I have a whole bunch of dead Japanese beetles in my beds, and I've literally watched them die. Why? Because they're eating a plant that is now producing chemicals that is killing the bug. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, not every plant does it, and every plant does it to varying degrees, but the reality is that plants will release chemicals to protect themselves. Milkweed is freaking toxic. Now, we don't consume milkweed, but milkweed is toxic. The leaves of a nightshade are toxic. And we're sitting there consuming tomatoes like it's no big deal, because it's not. We can eat those with no issue. So again, I can kind of understand what the carnivores are saying when they say, plants are trying to kill us, but I also big disagree, because plants are not actually trying to kill us. They're just trying to protect themselves. So, again, I get it, but I'm skeptical. So why the carnivore diet, right? If I don't believe in every single pillar, and I don't believe that plants are trying to kill us, why do the carnivore diet? Well, to be honest with you, it's because it's easy and it's convenient. Now, clearly it's going to be hard because there's no way in hell that not eating fruits and vegetables is going to be easy for me. But it is convenient. Right now, like I said, we're going into winter. We're in winter. It's December. And I have nothing in my garden. There's nothing in my garden that I can consume. So that makes it quite a bit easier, because now I just go eat, a drumstick. Okay, that makes sense. The other thing is fruits and vegetables are more expensive right now because they're out of season, except for, your brassicas, your root vegetables, stuff like that. But for the most part, everything at the grocery store is going to go up in price because it's out of season. So that makes it pretty easy. And then honestly, and this is probably the biggest reason, I mentioned it before, I don't have to track macros. I don't have to track nutrients. I don't have to track how much I ate. I don't have to look up how many calories I have left. I don't have to look up how many carbs I have left or other macros. I don't have to do any of that. I literally just say to myself, did an animal make it? Yes, okay, I can consume it. Right? That's it. Milk, good. Eggs, good. Cheese, good. Beef, good. Chicken, good. Lamb, goat, pig, good. And I would even go so far as to say honey. Like, really. It was an insect that made it. But another living creature made it. So, by technicality, it's not a plant. But that's an argument for a different day. One of the biggest things that I'm looking to get out of this stricter diet is really, I just want to feel better. Right. And I think every single person on the planet can relate to that. I just want to feel better. And because of how I view big pharma, big ag, big corporations, the way that I see and view them is I don't want to go to the doctor for my blood pressure being high because I have a sedentary lifestyle or because I consume too much salt or because of whatever. Like, again, it took Jared coming home and saying, you're going to the hospital. Now I can take you or you can go, but you're going, for me to be like, all right, yep, that's fine. I'm going to the hospital. And to be honest with you, I have a year's supply of medication that I will probably never take. Now the Zofran and the Phenergan, that's a little different, but everything else, not taking that. Once I realized what it did and how bad that is for you, nope, I'm good. So I want to feel better. And the reason for the elimination diet, honestly, is to figure out what is causing the flares. What is so bad that I'm eating that my body cannot handle it? And so I'm hoping that by the end of this, I at least can identify what causes the flares. I can feel a little bit better. And worst case, it prepares us for what we really want and what our real goal is to eat, what the farm provides. Right now, it's very easy to go to the grocery store and pick up a thing of creamer instead of using the goat milk. It's easier to go to the store and pick up pasta than it is to make it. And so I'm hoping that by the end of this, we'll walk into spring going, no, we're only going to consume things that the farm provides or locally sourced, or we know exactly where it came from and how it was raised or grown. That's the goal. That's the end goal of what we're trying to do. And if the carnivore diet speeds that up because, well, we know exactly how to make these things. We know how they were grown. We know all this. And we are no longer, buying things from the store that make us sick. We should be good to go. So that's really it. And I know this was a wild, long tangent and nobody probably cares, but that's okay. I got it off my chest. I got it out there. And hopefully somebody maybe will step back and look at their symptoms and go, maybe I should fix the problem and not just keep treating the symptoms. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later.